Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we'll be talking about the spell Magic Missile.
This is an iconic. This is a big one. This is like one of the spells the game's known for.
I attack the darkness.
Exactly. That exact joke that's been talked about over and over again since one guy made it in a basement back in 86 or whatever.
All right. Well, what does it do?
Okay. Magic Missile is a first level wizard sorcerer spell that, a couple of subclasses get, but that's whatever. The important bits is that it takes your action and you fire off 3 missiles that do 1d4 plus 1 force damage that with no attack rolls, no saving throws, nothing else involves, just hit up to 3 creatures of your choice. So you can send them all at one creature, you can send 2 at one and one another, 1 and 3 different creatures, whatever you like. And it's any of those creatures within 120 feet of you. It's got a 120-foot range. And then for every time whenever you upcast this, if you cast a second or third level spell, you get an extra missile per upcast slot. Like most spells in this game, you probably don't want to upcast this, but for what it's giving you at a baseline, Magic Missile is without a doubt the most consistent spell in the game. Whenever you cast Magic Missile, you know exactly what you're getting.
Unless somebody has a shield up or something.
Yeah, which is a bummer.
Well, maybe you wanted to expose their shield.
That's true.
Before you hit them with something harder.
That's a great point. There's many little early tier spellcaster duels can happen with shields and magic missiles and stuff. It probably is best positive for the game to say that there is a countermeasure to magic missile in case, like, I don't know, you have a cheesy party of 6 level 1 wizards that just like undeniable damage, go kill the boss kind of stuff. Yeah, magic missile it's good. I actually think it's a little overrated, just a little. But it is a perfectly serviceable damage spell. I'm a big fan of consistency. You know that. You know that I'm a big proponent of the consistent stuff. I just don't know if Magic Missile has quite enough of an impact where I'm like, yeah, this is something I want to cast as a second or third level wizard. A lot of the time, they have more variants, but tend to be higher total impact, like saving throw based spells. But it's definitely a spell that you will want if you're like, I want to know I'm doing damage right now.
Well, and I like that it's consistent, but also a little bit versatile. You can split it up. If you got, 3 goblins that just got hit with something else, you can roll the dice. Say, not roll roll some dice, but you can say, I might be able to kill all 3 of them right now.
It's true. And it's definitely really good against creatures that have like 5-ish HP. 5-ish, if it has 5 or less HP, the missile can kill it outright, which is very useful. I think it's important to note, like, the mechanics of the spell, they don't get fired in order. You don't fire like one missile, then another missile, and another missile. You do fire them all simultaneously. And like technically, they're all supposed to use the same die. So you would roll 1d4, and that applies to all 3 of them. So if you roll a 4, they all do 5 damage. If you roll a 1, they all do 1 damage. Or they all do 2 damage, et cetera, et cetera. Rolling dice is fun though, so like, I don't know. I think the most commonly way this is run is you roll 3d4 and you pick where they go. I think that you killing the 3 goblins is going to be a very common use case for this, and if you can kill one of them, that's very good. And especially if you're at a table where like you're not running it rules as written, all of them are the same number, and you have to announce where they're all going before any, simultaneously. You'll probably find that this spell has a lot of neat little wiggle room and some fun micro decisions and some like, oh, you beat up that guy, so I'm going to send the smaller missile at it and these 2 at the other ones. And you still don't necessarily know the outcomes, but you can still make some cool informed decisions depending on how the spell is played, which I think is in its favor.
Yeah, I've played where you roll multiple dice for them, but I've never played where you get to choose the damage that each of your targets gets.
Oh, really? How have you, if you don't get to pick which damage each target gets, is it just at random, or is it just like down the list? These are the 3 targets, and then 1, 2, 3.
I think it's been random. I'm going to attack this guy,
sure.
Roll this guy, roll this guy, roll.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all of these, I think, are a really good point to say that Dungeons & Dragons, as much as I like to talk about the rules and the mechanics and the nitty-gritty of it and how things technically function, I think both of us tend to be like, this is how spells actually happen. This is the ways they tend to really be used. There's a lot of play as intent with our talks. I think Magic Missile might be the poster child for this is a spell that works perfectly fine rules as written, but is a little bit better and a little bit more fun if you have some flexibility as rules is intended, or even rules as like your DM wants to have it. And it's probably net positive for the game to allow for a little bit of those changes. Because
whether it allots for it or not, it doesn't affect what's going on any tables.
Yeah, that's true. It's still good though. This is in defense of saying if you are one of those people that are very rules is written, relax. It's okay. The game is better for it to be a little bit looser, I think.
Or play rules is written. We're not here to tell you how to live your life.
This is true.
But all right. So there's not a whole lot else this does. This is a damage spell. Now you're saying it's overrated. What are you comparing it to?
Burning Hands mainly. That's Burning Hands is the gold standard for damage for first level slots in my mind. 3d6 in an area is very good. 3d6 hitting 3 or 4 creatures is way better than 1d4 hitting 3 creatures.
All right, sure, but
number wise, not even close. You could also compare this to like Chromatic Orb, which is definitely, I think, worse than this, but I don't think it's that much worse than this. Chromatic Orb is 3d8 damage, and a d4 plus 1's like a d6 average-ish. You got a higher floor, lower ceiling, but 3d8 is a substantial chunk of damage to one target. I think there aren't enough instances where I would be like, yes, Magic Missile is so much better than Chromatic Orb that I'd be like distastefully not taking one because the other exists. I really hate that Chromatic Orb can miss, but the miss isn't, the damage here is so small, it's really hard for me to say like it's that much more worth it to have the guarantee. Doing 6 damage is way better than doing 0 damage, and this will always do a minimum of 6 damage. It's just, even spells like Fog Cloud, they can have a really big impact both in and out of combat. Spells like Find Familiar are break the game in a very different axis than Magic Missile could ever possibly try to. Magic Missile is a gold standard damage spell in that it is consistent. Everything will compare to it for all of time. But like you can even go back and look through our reviews and talk about them. I don't really mention the spell ever because it is just a gold standard damage mark. It's saying 3d4 to 1 target plus 3 guaranteed. That's a floor that you have to beat to exist as a spell. And all their spells exist in that space, right? It ultimately leads me saying like this spell does exactly what you get for the slot. This is exactly how much a first level spell slot is worth. Magic Missile creates that bar. Everything else is a median of use cases in my game versus Magic Missile. And I think that a lot of first level spells will have on average a higher use case than Magic Missile. I think I'm more happy to find spells that are slightly more dynamic on my character sheet than just all this does is damage one time, or this only does damage to 1 to 3 creatures.
Also, and I'm pretty sure we mentioned this when we were talking about Burning Hands, but I think it can't be. You have to address that the range is also important.
That's absolutely
Burning
true.
Hands is like no range.
Yeah, Burning Hands, you are in the thick of it. You're up in the business with it. You can compare Magic Missile-ish to cantrips. A D10 is a slightly better high average damage, with again a worse ceiling, higher ceiling, worse floor than an independent missile. Is a first level spell slot worth getting to fire off 2 extra cantrips? If the cantrip can't miss, the answer is yes. But it's still in that ballpark, right?
Sure. All right. Big question. This is something I've asked before and could never get a definitive answer. I'm not sure if there is one. Magic Missile, but your target is on the other side of a window or just a pane of glass or something. What happens?
It hits them.
All right. Does it go through? Does it break the glass? What happens?
So if we're specific with the text of the spell,
yes,
the text of the spell doesn't shoot anything. The text of the spell, if we were to visualize this in a mechanical sense and not make it look like 3 darts flying from your fingertips, because you create 3 glowing darts of magical force is entirely independent as to what actually occurs. What actually occurs is 3 creatures you can see are hit by darts. Where those darts form is entirely up for interpretation. Where the actual mechanics of it are up for interpretation. It doesn't say that it passes through space, but it doesn't say that it destroys things along the way. It doesn't say that cover blocks this. So long as you can see it, it is hit by the dart. So rules is written. The darts, again, taking it out of the immersion, saying just mechanically, I can see it through a window. I don't know what happens with the magic dart. I don't know what it looks like, but it definitely takes a d4 plus 1 damage. And then it's up to you and your DM to figure out, well, how does your magic missile work like that? How does your magic missile either phase through the wall, go underneath into the door, find a little crack that it weasels its way through? Maybe you do just like create an arcane eruption at the target. You can make it whatever you'd like flavorfully, because the flavor of it doesn't matter. But mechanically, this doesn't go through windows. If you can see it, you can hit it.
In the Caverns and Creatures series of novels and short stories, it'll break the window.
Where can they find these lovely books, Bob? They sound really intriguing.
Available on Amazon.
Wow!
But that was a choice I had to make while writing, and I didn't want to poison your mind, but you get your answer, I got mine.
That's fair. Listen, I guarantee you, much like how we were talking about how Magic Missile is going to vary, like in the actual rules interpretation, table to table. That's another perfect example of it, right? There will be tons of DMs who are like, it says magical darts, that implies that they are sent and go from a direction, so physical objects should stop them, right? Your mileage is definitely going to vary. I would argue, again, put my little rules lawyer hat on. I don't have a degree in rules lawyering, but it's not what it says in the spell. So you can, if you want to fight the good fight with your DM, go for it. Don't fight the good fight with your DM. Just be like, yeah, that's fine. That's a perfectly reasonable ruling, and move on with your life.
All right. I mean, is there anything we haven't said about Magic Missile?
You can't fire it into the darkness. That is notable. But
no, it does target a creature. You need to be able to see the creature.
You have to see the creature. This can't go into nothing. But yeah, beyond that, this is a perfectly fine 4 out of 5. This is a spell that your DM has to think about. It exists. 4 is probably generous. This is a very comfortable 3 out of 5. This is a spell that is comfortable. It does damage. Because it's iconic doesn't mean it's particularly powerful. It's iconic because it does what you ask for it to do. It'll feel good to use. It's not game breaking. No DM is going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's Magic Missile and I have to rebuild my entire encounter around it. Or, oh, I have to really think, how does Magic Missile affect this encounter? Most of the time it's just 3d4 damage. It's like a great sword hit. It's not changing the math.
Yeah, I like it. I'm giving it a 4.
Good plan.
All right, everyone.
Consistent with my ratings.
Well, everyone, that was Magic Missile. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.